welcome to the Let's Ruin It podcast, where we take your favorite pop culture media, put a legal spin on it, and like all lawyers, we ruin it. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Let's Ruin It podcast. I am Jenny. I am one of your hosts, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-hosts. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, Jenny, you're so kind. I am Liz. I am the senior on the panel, so I give a slightly different perspective each time.
I'm Diana. I am a contemporary of Jenny's, so we'll be the babies.
Yes, but also we want to say happy early Valentine's Day.
Yes.
It's going to be Valentine's Day in 2 days, and so what we decided to do, because we all love a good theme around here, is give you guys the most romantic movie of all time. What could possibly be more romantic
Then prostitution.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
You can buy my love anytime.
And so, with that said, we are going to present to you, and we are going to ruin for you as best as we
a
can.
classic.
Such a classic.
Pretty Woman. Obviously.
I mean, truly,
Da-na-na-na-na.
like one of the greatest.
What's your dream?
I
Let's
have to
tell us.
say,
What's your
that's it.
dream?
This is Hollywood. What's your dream? Everyone's got a dream.
Yeah. I've got.
This is
I've
a
got
classic.
dreams.
I'm going to out myself as the oldie because this movie came out in 1990. I was a senior in high school.
I was
Diana and I were
like
6 years old.
6-year-old
Yeah.
watching it. Like inappropriate that I was watching it. I
Right.
do think I watched it around that time.
Okay,
I think so
okay.
also.
I have
I
to say,
think
at
so
least
as well.
I was old enough. I feel like to watch
No.
it. I would have been
It was
18 for
inappropriate
sure.
that I was
I
watching it.
had no business watching it when I watched it.
I don't think I understood anything that was
No,
happening, but I
absolutely
loved
not.
the movie.
I will like on rewatch sometimes because I mean I've seen it since 5 million times, but I'll think to myself, what was my mother thinking? Why?
How could they let
did
us
she
watch
allow
this?
this?
And also, what did I gain from it at the time? Like, I must have not
Nothing.
understood any part
No,
of it.
none of it.
I will say, when I Googled, when we were trying to come up with an idea of something good for Valentine's Day, and I Googled like best rom-coms, this absolutely came up.
Of course it
as
does.
old
Oh,
as
yeah.
it is, it came up.
It's the ultimate. It's the ultimate Cinderella story.
But
I think.
honestly, why? Can we please dissect why?
Because it's like she said, it's the ultimate
Yeah.
Cinderella
Rags
story.
to riches. Just anything is possible if you put your mind and body to it, I guess. And if you're hot enough, then a prince will sweep you off your feet and take you out of your life
Well,
of prostitution.
And, yeah. And let's be clear. So I'm watching it last night again because I always am like last minute Sally when I do these things. But you know what, guys? I like to have it fresh in my mind for you.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm watching it. My husband comes in as I'm watching it, and he says, "Wow, Julia Roberts really never looked better." Like he thinks
She was
that was her
great.
best.
I mean,
looking
she
role.
looked amazing.
She did look amazing.
But
That
that
red
was
dress,
incredible.
is stunning.
Yes.
But this was also the role that
Catapulted
really
her.
catapulted
Right.
her.
Oh God, yeah,
Truly
yeah. She was
catapulted her.
gorgeous. I have no idea how old she was when she made it, but
I think like early
beautiful.
20s. It was right after Mystic
Beautiful.
Pizza.
Right.
And it really catapulted her to A-list overnight. Like something we don't see happening anymore, to just take someone who's kind of up and coming and
Yeah.
make them like the biggest star in the
Oh,
world.
for sure.
Amazing.
So, quick question.
Go on.
Does the age difference between her and Richard Gere freak you out even a little bit
mean,
at
now-
this point?
It
right
never-
now,
it never
yeah.
did
Yeah.
before.
Before I was like, no, that's evenly
That's-
matched.
yeah,
They're both
right.
grown
Well,
ups.
how old is he? Right, that's what I always
He must
thought.
be
Again,
He's
when,
a billionaire, right? Like, or
A
millionaire
millionaire.
for sure.
Let's-
Very successful
and she's in her early
businessman.
20s, I think, in the
Probably.
movie as well.
Probably.
I would think,
He's
yeah.
gotta be, I don't know, probably like around 40-ish.
probably.
Maybe.
If
He's
not
got the
older.
grays.
He's got the gray, but he
Yeah.
went gray
Yeah.
early.
He did.
But he's very, debonair, and he's
handsome.
very handsome, and he's got
So
an
serious.
ex-wife and an ex-girlfriend who are out shopping together. Like he's lived
He's
lived
lived a life.
life.
And I
think-
will say, it probably didn't bother me then. I thought it was, but now
It does bother you.
there was
Now
an
it's
ick- there was an
inappropriate.
ick
Now,
factor
like,
for me now.
Yes, now there's an ick factor with a
Yeah.
lot of it, and I think the age.
And I don't know if
difference.
it's the different environment that we're in now, where we're
Perhaps.
kind of paying attention more
but
to
also
all this stuff.
it's
But
you're also older and you're a parent and you're like, this is awkward.
Right. I mean, this movie could not be made today because
No.
I
God,
think
no.
just not even just like not even just for certain parts of the movie, but just the overall plot of it. Then there'd be a discussion about sex workers
Of
and
course.
circumstances and and power dynamics. I think it would just be extra icky.
This movie took prostitution and romanticized it, made it super cutesy schmootsy. Guys, this is the director who also it's Gary Marshall. So
Gary
he did
Marshall,
The Princess Diaries.
Oh God, he's done.
What's the other one that he did?
He's done a ton.
He's done a ton of them, but they're all these very like
fun
and lighthearted,
completely appropriate movies.
Like watch with your family for movie night.
Yes.
Right?
And then he's like, here's one about a prostitute.
I actually happen to love how he sticks himself in all his movies. Did you guys catch him in this one?
He sticks himself into all of the movies. He also sticks Hector Elizondo into all his movies.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love Hector Elizondo.
Who of course plays Barney.
He's cool.
He's
the
the
manager
best.
of
He's fantastic.
The manager of the Beverly Wilshire.
Should be in everything.
So
yeah. I mean, he did
let's get
Overboard.
To it, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
It's like an amazing movie.
Oh, right.
Of course.
That's right.
And we have
talked about that
it.
one.
We have ruined
You
Overboard.
ruined it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before me.
Before your time. We ruined Overboard, so go back and listen to that.
I love it.
But
I love it.
he sort of makes this into like this cutesy film, and we all ate it
And
up.
oh no, America devoured it and was I don't think there was any backlash.
For those insane people who haven't actually seen it, give them a little rundown of this
right.
whole thing.
So we have a billionaire who
Millionaire,
billionaire, whatever. He's got lots of money. He's got loads of money. He's working on this massive business deal. He takes his lawyer's car, doesn't know how to drive it, and somehow ends up out of Beverly Hills on
doesn't
Hollywood
know how to
Boulevard.
drive it because, as he says, his first car was a limo.
That's right. And
so he grew up with money. He's
ends
a
up-
different class.
He ends up lost on Hollywood Boulevard, and in 1990, Hollywood Boulevard was not just full of stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They had some ladies of the night.
Hugh Grant knows that well. Yes.
Absolutely. He certainly does. And so he meets Julia Roberts, who goes by the name of Vivian, and she is this beautiful prostitute who gets into his car, and he offers her $20 to give him directions on how to get to the Beverly Wilshire in Beverly Hills. And so she takes him, and obviously then sparks fly, and he asks her to stay for the night. Now, and then, of course, it becomes this like romantic love story where, he falls in love with her. She falls in love with him. She's a changed woman now.
She's
He's a
trying
changed
not
man.
to fall in love with him because that's like, not something she's looking for. She's looking to build a better life for herself. And this goes
and make
against,
some money. And her friend Kit tells her to...
Oh, by the way, I love Laura San Giacomo. I forgot how
so
much
good.
I loved her.
She was in Just Shoot Me.
Yes, I love that.
Love that
show.
Love that show.
I could never...
She was great.
When
She
I
was in
used
so
to
many
watch
things then.
Just Shoot Me, which I loved that show,
Yeah, I did
could
too.
never get over the fact that she was Kit, the prostitute from Pretty Woman.
Oh, I know.
Like, never.
No,
This is
that's
just
who she is forever.
It's her role for me. And
she's so good in it. So good in it.
I mean, how many times in my life have I ever said, Rodeo Drive, baby? I mean, not that I've ever gone shopping on
Have you said that a
Rodeo
lot?
Drive. But it's just these classic lines. Or Cinda fucking Rella, she says to her. Anyway, amazing. So it becomes this like beautiful
She was
love
Marissa
story.
Tomei before Marissa Tomei.
Yeah. Well, when was My Cousin Vinny?
No, before
a couple
that.
of years later. Yeah, that's right.
later.
And so it
think
becomes
so.
this. Yeah, I think My Cousin Vinny was like 92 or 93. Yeah. It becomes this very romantic love story. He basically hires her to stay with him for the week because he needs someone to be, as he says, at his beck and call. And
she volunteers to be his beck and call girl.
yeah, well, and
I love that line. Not gonna lie.
Well,
It was
let's
funny.
just jump right into it, right?
Let's ruin this.
I found the
finds
negotiations of the price hilarious.
Fantastic.
And
Terrible.
really, he was offended by $4,000 a week.
Right.
Well,
Dude.
No,
like,
he wasn't because he
dude.
said to her, I would have paid it. Remember? Because she said they were negotiating. First of all, they were negotiating the price for the night. Right? She said to him, she charges $100 an hour. I'd like someone to send Vivian back to school. Okay.
Right.
She told him she charges
Well, she
$100
did say she
an
didn't
hour.
graduate high school, so
That's
remember
true.
that.
She told him she charges $100 an hour. And then when he asks her to stay the night, she says to him, you can't afford it. And then quotes him $300.
Right. That doesn't make sense mathematically. I mean, at least it should be $1,200. You assume it's a 12-hour shift.
Even if it's a 6 to 8 hour shift, it's still not $300.
It's not
she was
$300.
She's
She's giving him 3 hours worth. Like, that's
She was giving him a
economically it does not work
No,
out.
and I don't even know if it was like watching it now, but I'm sitting there going, you can't afford it. What?
Yeah.
He just brought you to the penthouse.
He is losing money. You don't think he can afford $300?
But the fact that she
or
thinks
even $1,000.
The fact that she thinks $300 or even the $3,000 that she ends up with for the week, that was a lot.
To her,
and the
this was
flat
big
rate
money
for the week. I can understand there being some. Yes, I can understand there being some
but it
sort
was
of
still
discount.
wildly discounted, because the way he counted it was $300 for the night, and so he said it's $1,800 for the week. But hold on a minute, she's with you not just for the night; she's with you
she
also.
says days too. She
Days
says
too,
that.
right? And so she quotes him 4,000. He says 2,000, and they meet in the middle at 3. And to her, this is life-changing money,
of course,
because she's holding up her boot with a safety pin. Just small side note: the boot, when she pulls the condoms out of the boot, and they're all different colors.
I thought it was gum.
I thought it was candy.
Yeah. Now that I watch it,
Then,
every time I see it,
now
I think I've learned. But back then, I definitely thought, oh, she's got like all these packs of gum. Yeah.
Why wouldn't he want all this candy? They're all different flavors.
And the special gold one that looked
it's like that's like a Wonka bar, basically. I absolutely thought that.
They were all these different flavors.
Nothing's getting through this sucker, she said.
Absolutely.
None of those things made any sense to me. I didn't understand what any of those jokes meant. And when I rewatch it, I'm like, Mom, why would you let me watch this movie?
Why did we watch this together? Like, why?
And
you know what? In all defense, I will say, because that shit went right over your head.
I know,
you had no idea.
Probably.
So it was kind of like, whatever. You thought it was a romantic movie.
I guess.
Didn't conceptualize any of that stuff. So what was the harm?
Remember they used to show it all the time
on like...
Pix 11.
Oh, I was going to say like TBS.
TBS, Pix 11. And whenever it was on, my mom and I would watch it together.
Because you can't go past it. You have to watch it.
That's such a great mother-daughter moment.
What a weird thing.
No, we were totally okay with it. I don't think anyone even like raised an eyebrow to it.
No. Again, maybe because she just assumed that it would go, and clearly it did. It clearly absolutely went over my head. So many movies went over my head because I watched them way too young.
my daughter's almost 6. And I
would never.
I can't even consider watching anything close to that.
No.
With her in the room or nearby.
One of the future episodes that we're going to do is Dirty Dancing, and so I was rewatching it the other day. Again, for these purposes, and my daughter was kind of walking in and out of the room, and I paused it every time.
Oh, yeah, that's also inappropriate, and I watched that as a small child.
I 100% had seen Dirty Dancing by the time
like
I was
a million
her age.
times.
And there is absolutely no way that I could show her Dirty Dancing. Like, I can't in my mind envision how to show her any of these movies.
Of it. I'd rather show them Double Jeopardy.
Back to this. So, do we think he takes advantage of her?
Yes.
In terms of the negotiations?
Yeah. There's a power dynamic, like a disparity between like power, education, means, economic disparity, and I think that he takes advantage of that.
However, that's his character.
Sure.
That's what he does in the business world. That's he's a mergers and acquisitions guy, but he's, as I liken him to, a chop shop guy, because he's like, she's right. She says it's like the people that steal cars, chop them up and sell them off for parts. That's exactly what he does. He buys failing companies and sells them off for parts because they're worth more money that way. So he's not exactly a nice guy.
No.
So I don't expect him to be nice in the negotiations with her.
So also, if you could make the argument that this contract was unconscionable, right, which is a term that we've used a lot in contracts, where the contract is so one-sided and so bad that the court would just throw it out.
You know what, though? Even though the power dynamic was off and he definitely was able to take advantage of her, you said it yourself. It was life-changing money for her. She got something out of it, something she wanted and something she needed. She could have walked away. Yeah. And she made a big point out of saying throughout the whole thing, I decide. I
say when.
Who.
Right. I say who.
Right. So
I say how much.
Right. She felt, maybe even acknowledging a little bit that she wasn't in control, but she felt like she was in control.
I don't think it's
not like she didn't get. I think she didn't get something out of it.
The contract is invalid because you can't contract for sexual.
Well, that's
anything.
Yeah. Right. So
first of all, you can't contract for anything illegal, and prostitution.
Right. So it's null and void at the get-go.
It's null. Yes, but let's assume it is not
in Gary Marshall's world.
Let's say it's enforceable and it's a valid contract. I don't think it's unconscionable. I think that someone getting a raw deal doesn't make it unconscionable because she had all the facts. There was nothing withheld. It wasn't like fraudulent inducement. No. It wasn't anything like that.
And
it was
he
just
said
like
to
not
her,
the greatest bargain.
He said to her from the get-go, this wasn't meant to be a love story. He said to her, he literally said to her, I need you at my beck and call. Because he had a bunch of business meetings, he had deals he had to close, and he felt like he needed a nice young lady at his side, right? That's really what the truth of it was, right?
He was upfront about it.
Yeah.
She had all the facts, and just because she accepted a price that was lower than what she should have accepted,
yeah.
I don't think that makes it unconscionable. I think that part's okay.
But
she was fine with it.
Yeah.
So
she was fine with it. But again, even if she wasn't fine with it, who's she gonna tell?
Right. Because again, you can't contract for
dude, she also
sexual
got
services.
a lot of high-end clothes.
I mean,
out
if you
of
think about it, she got, the $3,000. In addition to that is the jewelry, the clothing. The clothing itself was thousands of dollars, I'm sure.
Armani, right?
I think so.
It was a ton of
The shopping sprees. I mean, the shoes. If you add it all up, she got more than double
and
that
she got
amount.
to keep all the clothes. It's not like he left the clothes.
And the
He told her
jewelry,
to
the
leave clothes.
diamond necklace. I mean,
No, it was on loan.
No.
She
That
had
was
to give
on
that's
loan.
on loan. That's
That was
yeah,
on
yeah.
loan.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have
there's a price for just even borrowing that.
that would have paid for all her student loans.
Yeah.
Just that one necklace.
Yeah, that would have paid for everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so no, I think that's fine.
Okay. So let's talk about the fact that he's the head of his company. He's the boss. He owns the company. Is soliciting prostitutes. Granted, he didn't intend to.
But he did.
But he did. She got in his car. He paid. Initially, he was going to give her $20 for directions. That is not.
Actually, no. He wanted them for free. She
That's
said
right.
$5. And then, hey, for $20, I'll show you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct. Correct.
So she negotiated that one up and got to drive a Lotus, which was pretty cool.
That's great.
A valid contract. I have no issues with that.
Totally fine with that part.
Totally fine. But he solicited a prostitute. It ended up.
That's
it all
illegal.
ended up. It all ended up where it needed to end up at
Right.
the end
Yeah.
of the day. Right.
That's illegal activity
That's illegal
already.
activity. And then he was bringing her to events, and she was sitting in on business negotiations.
Yeah. She had access to trade secrets,
Yes.
confidential information.
Yes.
I mean, just anything that he had on him, his files that he'd bring home, but also hearing the conversations and having a front row seat to it.
So when he took her to that dinner, that first dinner where she had to go shop for an outfit and get dressed up, right? Well, we have to talk about the scene where she shops for an outfit, and they won't.
Big mistake, huge. Is definitely
The
something
best
that
one.
I quote,
that's a line.
like weekly.
The best.
I think weekly I say that.
Yeah.
Anyone who makes any kind of mistake, no matter how little or small,
Huge.
big mistake, huge. I have to go shopping now.
Yeah, that I loved. The comeuppance there was fantastic.
Yes.
But
And-
yeah, I mean, but I did notice that. Like, they absolutely clearly discriminated against
course.
her. It was a
she was
place
dressed-
of public entity. You're not supposed to deny people.
Although it's a private business, and they're denying it not because of a protected class.
They're denying it because they
she's
didn't know
not
how she was
dressed right.
dressed.
And you're allowed to. As a private business, you can say, I don't want people shopping here that are dressed like
How
this.
many restaurants have dress codes and say like no shoes,
No jacket, you can't dine here.
Right.
But don't you have to publish that or post it? Like,
I don't know
Right.
that you absolutely
I don't know.
have to.
I mean,
And
I don't know.
1990, I don't.
I'm just saying,
Right,
in a place,
1990,
I don't
assume
know. It's
the
an
rules
interesting
didn't exist
argument
like
because
that.
there have been lawsuits about places of public accommodation.
I mean, listen.
and who you can exclude and not exclude. And I know that there's a private business.
She walked in with that,
Right.
obviously that iconic outfit,
Yeah.
her like blue little
Great
mini
outfit. What a
skirt,
good outfit.
the like with the cutouts, the like literal hooker boots.
That is truly the best outfit.
And she's traipsing down Rodeo.
I think you're able to say, this is my shop, and I don't want someone shopping here who's dressed inappropriately. I think you're allowed to.
And they kick her right out.
Yeah. Was it a big mistake? Huge. Yes. But I don't know that there'd be a legal claim there.
No, probably not. And she gets her comeuppance. She comes in with
She
all her
does.
shopping bags, and she says, "You work on commission,
Another great
right?"
outfit. That
Oh,
white one.
with the hat. Oh,
so
beautiful.
classy.
But in any case, jumping back to the dinner where she ends up then buying this beautiful dress for, she's listening in on all of the conversations that are taking place between Richard Gere's character and the owners of the business that he's trying to take over and chop up and sell off, right? And so she's hearing everything. She's also hearing about the Appropriations Committee, the Senate Appropriations Committee. Do you guys remember this little tidbit that the company that he wants to buy
Has Navy contracts.
is about to get a Navy contract, which is going to make the value of his business obviously go up way more. And so now the selling price is going to be way more. And so this isn't something that's to Richard Gere's benefit. And
so he reaches out to the senator that's on the appropriations committee.
The implication is that he buys the senator off?
I guess he uses his influence in some way to stall the contracts. Not cancel them, but stall them while he's trying to negotiate with Morse for the better price that he wants.
Right.
Right?
But I think that there's kind of almost like an insider trading issue there. Like the information that he's gathered and means by which he's gathered it. I think there could be an argument made, and I'm not a corporate lawyer, well, kind of am, but not M&A. I don't do M&A. I think that there would be an argument to be made that it's improper means by which he's
obtaining the
obtaining it.
Yes.
But and then he puts pressure on a sitting senator to bury all of this, which, I mean, let's be honest, probably happens.
Like a hostile takeover.
And then they also get word that he's trying to mortgage the business through some bank. And his lawyer, played by the wonderful Jason Alexander.
But not wonderful in this movie.
Not
He's
wonderful
the villain.
in this movie.
He's
He's
very
absolutely
upset about
the villain.
Jason Alexander in this
He's
movie.
absolutely Stuckey. His name is Stuckey. What a name to give him.
And
This is a good name.
It fits.
It fits.
Yeah.
He says to him, call the bank and tell them to pull the mortgage. Tell them that he can't give this guy the mortgage. So he obviously is putting pressure on all sorts of things that now Vivian the prostitute, by the way, is privy to all of these things. Right?
But how does that not? I mean, look.
I mean, like a spouse could be,
But
too.
that's also like real life anyway.
Spouses have spousal privilege. The hooker that you picked up on Hollywood Boulevard can easily use this to blackmail you in some way, to extort you in some way. Presumably his company's got shareholders and there's a board and there's something. I mean, doesn't the board have issues with
I
the
think
fact?
the board would take issues because specifically she's a prostitute, someone that he has hired, illegally.
To be clear, we just want to make clear that Vivian was a prostitute of the highest moral caliber.
Oh, of course. But think
So
about
we're
it this way.
we're not suggesting she would do it.
He could be talking about all this and, leaving documents around, and a housekeeper could overhear this. I mean,
yes.
there are people who can overhear these things. I think the fact that it's someone that he hired who is, engaged in illegal activity with him, I think if I were a shareholder and I wanted to stick him with something...
I'd be mad.
I'd be mad, and I think I'd have some sort of claim there in terms of, impropriety.
Don't you think that in 2025... I almost said 2024.
Right.
But don't you think that in 2025, if something like that were to come to light, he'd have to step down? I think he would be made to step down.
I think there'd be pressure from the board to step down. Yeah.
Yes,
a
right?
Vote. Yeah, a shareholder vote.
I guess it depends on how it went down. I mean, ultimately, it ended up working out okay.
Right.
And nothing came of it. So I'm not sure. I mean, Richard Gere, and look, the character is not unlike any other character, okay?
Sure.
And he's got a lot of influence and a lot of pull. I'm not sure if what he did was necessarily illegal. That kind of crap happens all the time. It's like, I'm the bigger fish in this pond, so do you want to keep me happy or do you want to keep Morris happy? So
so the mortgage bank.
They're trying to make a customer happy.
They
know how much influence and money he's got. He's a better customer in their eyes.
I have more of a legalities issue in terms of the senator versus the mortgage lender. I think the mortgage lender is just to show that he's got all the power.
Yeah.
But the senator, and then he runs into the senator at the polo match and he says, "Senator, how's that project of ours going?" And the senator was like, "Dead and buried. Don't even worry about it." Look, let's assume the senator is getting something in return. Now, they don't ever explicitly say that the senator is getting money, but haven't we just had a whole uproar that all of these Congress people were taking bribes
and nothing
pro
happened,
quo
Jenny.
kind of situation, right?
They stepped down.
But this kind of stuff happens all the time.
It does happen all the time.
The one guy's going to jail.
Yes.
The one guy's going to jail, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
the one guy.
That one guy's going to jail.
Sure he is.
Yes, I think that there'd be probably I could see there being charges being, I think there's bribes there, blackmail.
Of course.
There are claims to be made against him.
It's fine. We're just going to look
over it.
It's
fine because, it's still a romantic movie.
I still strongly believe that in 2025, he will no longer be in charge of his company. I think that if Vivian wanted to extort him in some way, she easily could.
Oh, she was absolutely, if she was that kind of person.
And she's not again.
She's not.
We don't want to ruin it in that way for you. We still want you to think it's very romantic.
She would have had a bevy of information that she could have thrown at him and taken him down and probably blackmailed him as well.
Guys,
with that.
not to make this like into a dark and sinister turn, but here I go.
Do it.
You really think
I'm sad.
You really think that he couldn't have made her disappear and the problem go away?
Yes.
Oh, easily. Yes.
100%.
That's like an alternate ending to this movie. Also, yes, like in a different world.
He definitely had the power to make the problem go away. Let's
if
put
Gary
it that
Marshall
way.
wasn't directing this,
Exactly.
like Steven Soderbergh was, like, yeah, this would have a different ending.
Or actually, kind of funny because I watched a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yes.
Oh,
after that.
imagine Pretty Woman as
would have
a
offed her.
Shovels would have been involved.
Imagine
right.
Pretty Woman as a Tarantino like slasher flick.
In fact, he should do that. He should remake it.
Oh my god.
Quentin, call us. We've got notes.
Yes.
We can make this happen.
Yeah. Wait, so let's go back to Jason
Yes.
Alexander. Let's just talk about, because when you
so
think about the
bad.
legal issues.
Oh, George,
can't-
what are you doing to me?
I know, you can't overlook the
fact that he's
the sexual harassment
Yeah.
and the attempted sexual assault.
Yes.
I mean, that's huge. Again, when I'm watching this now, I'm like, did I get that as a kid? Like, what's happening here?
Or
Or
he
did
was
I just
trying,
think he was being mean to
and
her?
what he was about to try to do.
What he was trying to do.
You
right.
probably thought that he was being mean to her.
And was trying to kiss her.
But on another level, she is a person that sells herself for money.
Right.
So there is definitely a contingency of people that would not have had a problem with his actions because you put yourself out there.
And but that was
he
his
solicited her
mentality.
first.
Well,
Right,
yeah,
but like
that
she
was
has,
Stuckey's.
she has autonomy. She
Sure.
can, like she has like
She says who.
She says
She
who.
says when,
where,
how much.
how much.
I know, but I have to say, and this is going to sound, I know, because I'm such a, believe me, I'm a feminist, but
Go
I
on.
had an issue with the way she said, no one ever made me feel as dirty as him when he propositioned her. Honey, you get propositioned all the
Right.
But you know,
time.
I
Right.
think
So why
Probably
was
not
that,
respectfully every time.
Why was no?
Yeah.
Why was that the deal breaker all
Right.
of a sudden? You know what I mean?
No, I hear you, but I guess, gosh, I don't know, because it's a romantic movie. That's why. Because
Okay.
because she was expecting some level of respect from him because he didn't proposition her in that way. Because let's assume that whenever she does get propositioned, everyone knows what this deal is, right? It's an hourly rate, and we're in and we're out.
The terms are
That's what she said.
discussed, decided. Sure.
Right, the terms are discussed, decided, and like everyone knows what they're getting, what's getting out of this scenario, right? Like she knows it. But with Richard Gere, it wasn't necessarily that. I don't know. And then they, he took
feelings get involved.
right. He took the day off with her. They had this lovely day in the
That
park.
was after, though.
Was that after he beat her
Yeah,
up?
because the polo. No.
No.
The polo grounds where he
Yes.
propositioned her was
Yes, that's
first.
right. Yes,
Yes.
you're right.
And I think her upset was that he told him.
Correct.
And she's
Richard
like,
Gere
if you were
told-
going to tell him, then why bother making me dress up and
Sure.
pretend I'm a lady and
And
this,
I
that,
think
and the
that
other
was
thing?
her issue.
Yeah.
That was her issue,
But
right?
it wasn't like a term that was discussed. Like, okay, part of this arrangement for this week is you can't tell anyone who I am.
I think it was implied,
But
right?
was it implied or
He
I
sent
don't,
her.
Well-
he was implied because he sent her all about to pretty her or classy herself up. to
Sure,
classify
but I don't
her.
know if that there was no discussion about like we're gonna keep this under wraps.
And in fact, when Hector Elizondo, the manager of the Regis Beverly Wilshire, is that what it's called?
Something like that.
And he keeps repeating it every
Fancy
time.
Beverly
when
Hills
he
Hotel.
says I've met your niece, and Richard Gere says I think we both know she's not my niece.
Right.
Everyone obviously knows that Richard Gere brought a prostitute,
which
into
is
the
why
hotel.
I don't see how that.
Which, again.
I almost didn't understand her indignation
but you
about
see,
that
I
issue.
didn't.
I was
either.
like,
that was my thing. I felt like
you
her
never discussed
indignation
this.
Was,
You never made it like there was no insinuation of like, and no one's gonna know. Like no one's gonna find out who I am.
Right.
I don't know. I guess maybe
Like
'cause
she
it was
couldn't
just-
decide between whether she was flaunting the idea that she was a prostitute or it was being hidden.
Yeah, because there
Well-
were times that she really was very overt about it, and so
Yes.
I don't know. I think
And
that it was
then-
an unreasonable like anger that she expressed.
But also,
about
there were
that.
times where she would get very sensitive about it. Richard Gere would make sort of just comments. He said, you and I are very alike. We both screw people for money.
Right.
She got visibly offended by that.
But he's
Like,
not
the look on
wrong.
her-
I
he's
think
not
I
wrong.
think
Yeah.
that she was a little overly sensitive and hypocritical. You can't just like play both sides of
But
this.
again,
Right.
back to Stuckey. So how does it come out? At the polo match, Stuckey is played by Jason
Well,
Alexander.
Stuckey rightfully took Diana's thing and said she could be a corporate spy, which I could see where he would think that.
Right.
Because she's talking to
I can see why he's nervous about it and angry that
the grandson David, and like, wait a minute, this chick comes out of nowhere.
Right.
And now she's talking to the guy whose company you're trying to take over.
Up until like the attempted sexual assault, I was like, Jason Alexander, we see eye to eye.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you should be nervous. And I would probably be a little bit pissed off if, my business partner or anyone involved in my business
Let's
was
be clear.
doing this.
He was his lawyer.
I know, but
not
still.
his partner. But he was definitely felt like he had more pull than he did, I think.
There's like some sort of fiduciary duties. Like they're intertwined.
One of my favorite lines now as an adult is when she's first asking Richard Gere, what do you do for a living? And he says
he's a lawyer?
And he says, well, why do you think I'm a lawyer? And she says, you have this sharp, useless look about you.
I like to think that that's what we all have.
Yeah.
I feel like I take pride in being sharp and useless.
Yes. That's pretty much, that sums up the legal profession, I think. Just fine.
In any case.
But yeah, I got it. I think Jason Alexander, if he hadn't attacked her later on, I think his initial reaction
even before the attack. So basically Richard Gere is like, she's not a spy. She's a hooker. I picked her up on her.
And I'd still be pissed.
I'd be pissed for a different reason. And even before the assault, Stuckey then takes it too far. Because then he walks up to her and he starts like touching her.
Right, that's the sexual harassment portion of it for sure.
And he starts to say, maybe I could take you home or something like that.
Yeah. While he's there with his wife, mind you. Not that.
What a dog.
Yeah.
I know. But yeah, so there was definitely sexual harassment and then later an attempted assault.
Right. He because what ends up happening is now Richard Gere has developed a moral compass. This week with Vivian has changed him, and
His
instead
heart
of
grew 3 times its size. Yes, yes, beautiful.
I like that
Day
reference.
moral.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so he decides rather than buying out the company and chopping it up into little pieces, he's going to try to save this company and make it stronger. And Stuckey is super mad about it and shows up to
basically takes it out on her.
Right.
Like he's taking his anger out on her because he blames her for Richard Gere's change of heart.
Yes.
Because he knows that like she's the one who's changed him because it's only been a couple of days and
6 days. Five.
And it's
she leaves the day
such
early.
like a 180.
Yeah.
Okay, like what's the reason for it? Clearly, Vivian.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I get it. Not the right way to go about it. I understand his frustration and anger about the situation.
In Vivian's defense, by the way, about her like indignation and all that, he flew her to San Francisco to the opera.
Yeah.
Sure.
That wasn't any part of business dealings. There was no one there that he was doing business with. This was him taking her out on a legitimate date.
True.
Right? And so there was nothing in the contract about that. This was him courting her. And then he granted this happens after, but this is him courting her. And so I feel like she's getting mixed signals from the man.
But he looked for a companion. He said he wanted companionship.
Yeah.
And so that you could make an argument that is still part of the original contract.
Yeah.
Just because he flew her somewhere or other people weren't around, I think it's implicit in the terms of the contract that this will include perhaps private meals and spending time together privately.
That whole day off. There was no business.
Actually, that was to me more of the aberration, because even at the opera, and it's like everywhere this man goes, even there, they shook hands. He shook, hi, how are you? These are people he knows.
He's like
everywhere
networking.
he goes, he knows people in networks.
The old lady says to her, did you enjoy the opera?
Yeah, I almost peed myself.
Yeah.
No, she said, I almost peed my pants. And then she said she enjoyed it even better than the Pirates of Penzance.
I love that.
Lady, she's like you can see she's doing like the mental math. Peed, pants, Pirates, Penzance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it could work. It could work.
Okay. I feel like I knew that old lady too. By the way, can I do a little shout out to the senior Mr. Morse, who is the guy Mortimer in Trading Places?
Yes!
Oh,
which
yeah.
Our episode dropped, guys, in case you haven't heard it yet.
Yes.
It's fabulous.
Yes.
Love Trading Places. Check out that episode.
Yes.
But yeah, little shout out to the crossover
Yes,
of the guy.
I love all
him.
these crossovers.
I love these guys.
Also, the guy who, when they go on the shopping spree, and the guy who's like really sucking up.
I knew
He's from Princess Diaries.
He is.
That's what it is.
He
does. So it's like because Gary Marshall's probably like,
oh my God. And I looked up who he was when I was watching it too, and I can't think of his name
He's
right now.
He's the hairdresser.
It's also an iconic scene in a movie.
He's been in a bunch of stuff too.
Yes.
Like he's just one of those guys.
Character actor.
Should we ruin Princess Diaries?
I mean, honestly, that's a good one. Yeah, I think
good one,
there are
right?
legal issues in
Back
that.
to Hector Elizondo, though.
He puts
Who's
him in every
also
movie.
in that. Yeah. Yeah.
He puts him in every movie.
Yes.
Who is a fabulous,
So
fabulous actor. Anyway, he's another one though who is not welcoming prostitutes to the Beverly Wilshire.
He says
but
to
he
her-
goes
But he
out of-
softens.
He goes out of his way though
As
to
they tend to
accommodate
do.
Yeah.
the rich, wealthy client again.
And I bet that's
I'll
like
turn a blind
that's
eye.
probably very common. Like when you,
Of course.
you know, you have these high net worth individuals staying
Yep.
at your hotel, and
Yep.
all you want to do is bend over backwards to make them happy, so
Yep.
they continue to.
I
But
mean-
he
go
did make
to
sure
your
to
hotel.
say to her, and we won't be seeing you once your uncle leaves.
Except at the end of the movie, he says, "I hope to see you again here soon."
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Because they've now become friends. And
What a
and they have
difference
this-
5 freaking days makes.
Yeah, really.
I know it's shocking also now to see how much changes in a few days. Like,
Of course.
I think from thinking about this movie and having not seen it for a few years, I thought this was a much longer period of time.
Of course, you're thinking this is like
Yes.
weeks,
Right.
months.
It does seem like a lot
They're
longer.
falling in love. Like
Right.
she whispers, "I love you"
You've
to
only a
him.
few- you've
like
only known
3
each
days
other for
later.
a
The
week.
only thing I actually
Less
can
than,
forgive
yeah.
Richard Gere for, even if they had not hooked up,
Mm-hmm.
right, and had not stayed together, he gave her a sense of, you know what? I'm not a loser. I can do stuff. She was planning to go back
Yeah.
to school to get her education. Like, she kind of realized I can do better. And you know what I mean? So I'll give him credit for that, even if they didn't work out. Like, what he gave to her was a sense of self-worth,
Sure.
I think,
Yeah.
that she can achieve better.
Yeah, well, when
know?
Kit came to the hotel because she said, "I'm leaving money for you," Kit
Yeah.
is her prostitute roommate who really got her into prostitution. Kit has a drug problem, which, by the way, also went over my head.
Also,
Yeah.
I had no idea.
also,
She was like, "I
yeah.
needed a little pick-me-up. I needed to party." Like,
Right.
she was snorting
I
some
had
shit.
no idea.
She blew
what-
their
what-
rent
yeah.
money on,
On blow.
yeah, on blow.
Yeah.
I had no idea when they pulled Rachel out of the dump.
irresponsible.
They pulled Rachel out of the dumpster. I
Oh,
was like,
yeah,
"What was
yeah.
she doing in the dumpster?"
Yeah, yes.
She
Skinny
was,
Marie.
Skinny
That's a great
Marie.
Skinny Marie. I love that one.
She was in the dumpster because her pimp landed her
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Like this is I had no idea.
It was
none of this was
it
very
was
clear to me at all.
interesting.
Like-
It was like a sanitized, seedy version of Hollywood Boulevard.
Yes.
But
Like
so
the
weird.
underbelly was there, but they hid
But also
it.
like a
But-
family-friendly rom-com
right, but like
of the
kind
early 90s.
And Hank Azaria, by the way.
Yes, he
love.
played the
Was
cop.
the cop,
Yes.
And
right?
I-
and was
yes.
like, I got tourists taking pictures of the
Yes,
body.
yes.
Which probably happened.
Probably.
Which probably happened.
It was a very interesting.
The early
mix
90s wasn't a
of-
good place for
No.
Hollywood Boulevard.
No,
It was like, it's
and
like
I'm
Times
like-
Square.
It
Times
was,
Square
it
was
was such a
terrible.
weird movie because they were showing you the stuff, but it didn't look that bad. Like it was
It was
weird.
like I
They
said,
romanticized it,
It was
yeah.
a fully romanticized version of
And sanitized
Super
it. It was weird.
By
It
the
was-
way, I don't know that we actually said it. The overarching whole thing with this movie is prostitution's illegal. Let's be clear.
right.
So exactly what they contracted this entire movie is about is illegal.
Right,
Yeah, the
right,
fact-
right. We
the
should have
fact-
started with that.
the fact that like the cuteness,
seemed obvious.
like the
Right.
entire plot
Like, oh, she's
of the
such a
movie
pretty prostitute.
is a very illegal activity that was illegal, is still illegal,
Even
has
Kate
not
was
changed.
Cute. Like she
Yes.
wasn't like the crack whore missing teeth.
She
like,
was like-
you know what I
she
mean,
was
with the
like-
raggedy hair.
She was like an adorable drug addict.
She's like,
Yeah.
I just needed to party, and here's my pimp, Carlos.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they didn't have a pimp.
No,
'cause-
No.
But
But she
Carlos
was
was-
considering it.
Carlos was trying to pimp them up.
Yeah.
And she was like, Carlos likes you. He thinks you've got potential. And like,
Yeah.
this was a very, like, for sure teenage
I'm
girls were
surprised
watching this.
that more girls of our generation didn't grow up to be prostitutes because they really they made it seem so like, oh, that sounds
What
nice.
was
I'd
the
have a
reason?
roommate,
Wait,
we'd hang out, I'd be in limos.
Like an after-school special.
Yeah, it's
on.
like, wait, should
What
I
was-
consider this as a career option?
Career option.
Yeah.
Was this rated
Well,
R?
actually, Julia Roberts did
Probably
say in the
rated
movie
G based on like
It was
the
rated
early
R.
who
It was
actually
rated R.
dreams of this life. She does make the point of saying no one dreams of.
But then we're watching it being
doing
like,
this,
I'm
right?
dreaming of this life. Like,
Although it
look
was
at
actually
what you
really,
get to do.
it was actually
that
really
shopping spree.
Yeah.
Your hot takes on things?
I know. It's really good.
But they're in bed together. They're talking about intimate stuff, and then she says, "Oh yeah." So then I decided to do it because I was desperate for money, and I
yeah.
cried the entire time. That broke my heart.
Oh yeah.
Like that really, like now as an
Yeah,
adult,
no,
I'm
that's
like,
sad.
because I'm thinking about real life and the concept.
Yeah.
Like,
And you're thinking
people
about how
are
old she
desperate
was.
for money,
And how young.
yeah. Yeah.
Because watching as a child, she's a grown-up.
Yeah.
So they're all just grown-ups doing grown-up things.
No.
Now you're like,
she was,
oh my God,
maybe
she's a
22.
baby.
Maybe.
You know?
She's
You
a
think-
baby.
No, I always
Yeah.
thought she was like mid-20s.
Nah, I don't
No,
know.
I think she was
I got the impression she
younger.
was
She
young
was
because
younger?
And then
she
if you're
said
thinking about
she
like
did-
when she started
she
that
didn't
kind of
finish-
activity,
right?
she was
She
even
didn't
younger.
finish high school. She said she
followed
went
her
there
third
because her
boyfriend.
mother called her a bum magnet, and all she did was attract like loser guys.
Yeah.
She followed a guy out there,
Yep.
and he dumped her like everybody else. And then she's like, "What am I gonna do?" And I didn't want to go home.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing what I can to make money, and then I find Kit, and she's like, "Oh, it's easy. Let's just do that." Like, you can see, and it.
I mean,
happens
that's
all
a
the time.
very
Teen
common
runaways
situation, yes.
and the situations that
It
they fall
usually
into,
ends
and
much
worse
than this.
way worse.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're not getting these fairy tale endings with the billionaires.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I
not.
think that, I mean, a lot of it doesn't age well, but
course.
the thing that really doesn't age well is kind of glossing over the danger and like the
Of
horrific
course.
That she would
parts
have been
of like
in. Yeah.
sex work.
Yeah.
You know, just so I think that's
Oh yeah.
And
Probably
also,
a big issue.
also, obviously, all of these movies end with "and they live happily ever after."
but you don't see like, oh, it's been 1 week, there's a beautiful ending, but that's it.
Then
like
what?
then what? What's the next day like?
Like, is because he's
What's
supposed
a
to
month later
He's
like?
supposed to fly back to New York to do his business things. Is she coming with him?
Are they getting married? Are they starting a home and a family together? Like, what's happening?
Are they going to tell their kids, "This is how I met
this
your
is our
mother"?
Right.
This is our meet cute.
Right.
Can you imagine the next rendition of "This is how I met your mother"?
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
a
like-
pretty woman version.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, there's no reasonable future there.
Wait, Josh just pulled it up. Vivian Ward, Pretty Woman. She was born in 1967. But wait,
So then she
is
was
that Julia
23.
You
Roberts?
want me to do math?
So she's
23.
She's 23 years
23.
old. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. In
Thank you,
19
Josh.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, no, I mean that makes
She
sense.
has a
Wait,
character
I like it. Hold on.
online?
Whatever Josh pulled up, it's like a little chart. You guys don't see it, but what Josh then put it up on the screen later. What it says, it has main character type prostitute, status
Alive.
That's an
I mean-
accomplishment right there.
But 23 makes sense because that's probably also how
And
old
so then,
Julia
wait, Josh,
was
do
at
it
the
quickly.
time.
How old is he? He's got to be 40.
I'm going to say 44. 44.
He's
Okay.
got.
I was going to
listen,
go 45, but okay.
Whoa, no,
For-
it's like Price is Right.
how old is he now? Is he in his 70s now?
Yeah.
He must be in his 70s.
Richard
But-
Gere?
Yeah.
Oh, I would think.
How?
Let's
'cause
see.
I-
He was 40 when he played Edward.
So he's got to be 40.
But he
And so
was
they-
40. Was
they
the
have-
character
they
of
had-
Edward 40? Maybe.
He's for as long as I can remember him, which is probably Pretty Woman. He's always had the gray hair. So to me, he's
True.
always been
I think
an elder
even
gentleman.
Yeah.
Even in he was the one in American Gigolo, right? Like that was his big
Yes.
movie way back in the day. I think
Yes, but
even-
that was before my time.
Yeah, but I feel like even then he had like.
He's always had white hair.
So, but
By the way,
Silver Fox.
there
Yeah.
and then wasn't there a follow-up movie Runaway Bride, which I loved?
Fantastic.
So it wasn't
Fantastic
really-
movie.
That movie.
Amazing
Like
movie.
they've done a bunch of movies
Oh my
together.
God.
They were so cute.
What a good movie.
but it wasn't meant to be a sequel. It was just
No, no,
them.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no. Yeah,
And also
yeah.
no prostitution in that one.
No,
That's right.
no
But
prostitution.
Joan Cusack, so it's a better movie.
Way better. Oh, she's
I
fabulous.
love her.
Well, guys, have we took
we
all the
ruined it?
romanticism out of it? Have we ruined it?
I think
Probably
we've
not,
ruined
because I
it.
feel
don't
like
even
you
think-
still love it.
Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, you're still.
I was watching the whole time I was watching this movie with like a huge smile on my face because, I mean, does it get better than this movie? I don't know. And I have to tell you guys, I said to my
I
husband,
was so conflicted.
I said to my husband, Diana, this was Diana's idea to do this as a Valentine's Day episode. And I said, Diana had the best idea for our Valentine's Day episode. We're going to do the most romantic movie of all time. And I said it like a little facetiously. And he looked at me and he said, Pretty Woman? And I said, what?
You see? Because we're on the same page. He gets me. I get him.
And I said, yes, that's
Of course, it's
that's
the most
correct.
because it's still the most romantic movie, no matter what. Even though it romanticizes sex work and like the dangers of, I mean, drug addiction, like all of this,
mean,
it does not
he
matter.
could've-
It's a romantic movie.
He could have said like anything else, like Casablanca.
No,
The
Casablanca
Notebook.
wishes.
He was like,
They
let me go.
wish they were this romantic.
He was like, let me go straight to the hooker
No,
movie.
yes.
But I just have to say, that just means he just knows how ridiculous we are.
Yeah. Hooker with
Yeah.
the heart of gold. That's what
it.
we're going on Valentine's
Yeah,
Day.
it's
He was,
Yeah.
No, he was like, there's no way they're doing like a legitimate movie. It's
Absolutely
obviously
not.
something ridiculous.
going to be Pretty Woman, of course. I actually
course.
don't think that my husband has seen this movie. I know. I think he might have said that, and I was
Liz,
like,
I believe that's a grounds for divorce.
in New Jersey it is, right? I believe so.
I think you could do it under extreme cruelty.
One of you is going to draft up the papers. Right?
Okay,
Under extreme cruelty.
I'm
Extreme
here for
cruelty.
you, Diana. I'm
Abandonment.
Here for you.
How many hooker stiletto heels?
Oh yeah, hooker boots.
Believability. I mean,
legally,
0.
I mean,
Believability.
or like legally, because legally they didn't get anything wrong. Like they knew that it was
other than
illegal,
this prostitution.
but they knew it was
They
illegal.
knew that. They knew that. They were pretending it wasn't.
Okay.
They didn't get anything wrong. They didn't pretend that prostitution was legal. So for that, I'd give it like 8 or something. Like they didn't get the law wrong.
I mean, real life believability.
Yes.
She needs to put it.
Zip.
0 hooker boots put on
I
a
need
pair
to
of flats.
find one real life story where someone actually has this happen, and they,
Hello, Kit told you. Cinderella.
Well, Cinda fucking Rella. Yeah.
Not real. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I need to shatter your dreams.
I feel like Cinderella.
If anyone has a real
I miss
Pretty
the part
Woman
in Cinderella
moment,
where she sleeps with him for a week, but
and gets paid
and
for
gets
it.
paid for it.
I invite the comments. If
Yeah.
anyone
Yes.
out there
Show
has
me a real life story where a prostitute ends up with like
Pretty
this
Woman moment.
life, like this lavish lifestyle.
To
afterwards.
clarify, we don't mean if you were. If you were, we won't judge.
No,
we
no
listen
judgment.
and we don't
No
judge.
judgment. No, we ruin. We don't judge.
Right.
That's right.
Who we kidding?
Yeah, we judge.
100% judge.
We
Judge a million times over.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for
Thanks.
hanging in.
Yes.
We hope you liked this video version of us because we're gonna keep doing it. So
Whether you like it or not.
we hope you liked our
I feel like a
faces.
lot of hate mail about it. I think we're gonna continue.
If suddenly the next episode is back to audio,
hide
you'll know
your
what
faces.
happened. You'll know what
I don't
happened.
want to hear any of that negativity. Like, what are they?
Negative Nancy's.
All those people, they're going to sit there and go, oh, my roots are showing. Shut it. Shut it. I don't want to hear any of it.
No.
I know I don't wear makeup. Get over it.
We're doing our best.
We're doing
Okay. We will see you guys next time.
Yes.
We have
I'm
going
going
to
to conclude this episode of Pretty Woman and say, people, tell us, what's your dream?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I like it.
Go.
Follow us on Let's Ruin It Podcast on Instagram. Subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Please do.
Please send us your comments.
Suggestions.
Tell us what you'd like to see next. We have some really good stuff in the works coming out. We hope you guys are going to like it.
Yep.
And stay tuned for next time.
Thanks, guys.
Peace
Bye.
out, guys. Bye.